Hello everyone, and welcome back to my Natlan speculation mini-series. Today, I want to talk about some of the locations we'll be able to visit when we finally reach Natlan. We recently got a teaser that showed us quite a bit of Natlan's landscape, so I thought this would be a perfect time to make this video. Now, this video does contain spoilers for the quests listed on screen now, so if you haven't done those, you have been warned. With all that said though, let's get right into the video. To start off today's video, let's go over the locations that we already know about in Natlan. Thanks to the lore of Talking Stick, Unfinished Revelry, and Lava Walker, we actually know quite a bit about this nation's locations. The first of these locations was actually mentioned all the way back in version 1.0, that of course being the Mare Javari. The Mare Javari is an endless sea of ash where the wind does not blow, and it is also said to contain a sea of scorching lava. Now, this isn't the lava area shown in the Natlan teaser, as we can see plants growing here. The Mare Javari is a barren place devoid of life, meaning this can't be the same place. While there is a lot more lore about the Mare Javari, I won't be covering it here, as I did recently make a whole video focusing on the Mare Javari and its lore. Instead, I want to focus on the other areas mentioned in the lore we have about Natlan, as well as the places seen in the recent Natlan teaser. First up, we have the canyons, which seem to be quite a prevalent feature in Natlan. Throughout the second half of the teaser, we see a lot of this area, with the final shot showing just how many canyons the nation has. We can also see some shallow rivers flowing at the bottom of these structures, which were likely what carved them out long ago. The depths of these canyons also seem to vary based on location, as the ones closer to what seems to be Natlan's main city seem to fall deeper into the ground than the others. I will cover Natlan's main city more in depth in its own section, but for now, let's move on to the mines. This area is home to both the Tepetli Saurians and the Nautitskian people, also known as the Children of Echoes. According to Ranjit in the recent Saurian event, the mines are located in eastern Natlan, and are very likely shown in the first part of the teaser. The walls of this area are covered with graffiti, something Adele in Bida Harbor had told us about. Now, not much mining equipment is seen in the teaser, leading me to believe that this is just the surface part of the mines. When Natlan releases, we'll likely be able to explore the mine shafts and caverns of the area. Moving on to the next area though, we have the Hanging Trees. I think that this is the only location that we don't see in the trailer. While we do see a variety of trees across the landscape, none of them fit with this title. When I think hanging trees, I think more like the Hanging Gardens of Babylon. This could be one of the locations that we briefly see in the background, but personally, I don't think we've seen it yet. Anyways, the next location is the Spring Source, which is likely the location shown with the swimming Saurian. This area is home to pools filled with water that likely flow down into the rest of Natlan, forming the rivers mentioned earlier. At the end of the teaser, you can see a structure similar to the geography shown earlier, which leads me to believe that the Spring Source is actually a floating area located in the southern part of the nation. Now then, the next area I want to mention is the Fertile Lands. For this title, there are a few different places shown in the teaser that could fit. It could be located north of the canyons, or even below the Spring Source. We likely caught a glimpse of this area in the teaser, but at this point, it's tough to pin down which area it is. For the final location though, we have the Mountain Peaks. Natlan is home to a lot of mountains, and the peaks could be referring to any one of them. It could also be referring to the mountain that we see for a few frames at the end of the teaser, which looks like it could be a volcano. Perhaps this volcano is where we see the lava mentioned earlier. These locations are all very exciting of course, but we still have to actually get to Natlan before we can explore them. So then, how will we get to Natlan? Well, we have a few different options at this point. Augustus Lovelace tells us that Natlan is located on the other side of Sumeru's Great Red Sand. Additionally, Ranjit tells us that if we travel to Natlan through Sumeru, we'd reach the mines first. As such, our first way of entering Natlan could be through the Sumerian desert. A new path would open up past King Deshret's mausoleum, leading us to the mines of Eastern Natlan. After all, we did first travel to Fontaine by walking through the desert, so it wouldn't be crazy for us to cross the desert once again. Story-wise though, we are coming to Natlan from Fontaine, so we might take a little bit of a different approach. We could travel back into the Girdle of the Sands and use the water at Samudra Coast to sail over to Natlan. Alternatively, we could just sail from Petrichor or Maritime Harbor. Returning to the Girdle of the Sands again, we could walk through the desert here and into Natlan, reaching the mines as before. Whichever entrance we end up taking initially, I'm sure the other ones will open up at some point in the future. With Fontaine, we could only initially travel there through the Girdle of the Sands. Once version 4.4 came along though, we could now travel through Chenyu Vale and sail from Yilong Wharf to Lumidos Harbor. Later on, with version 4.6, we could sail across the waters from Baida Harbor to reach Petrichor and Maritime Harbor. All of this is to say that while we may get stuck with one entryway at first, it won't stay that way forever. As Natlan expands, it will likely connect back with Sumeru or even Fontaine, making the map look more complete. For now, we'll just have to wait and see which entrance we'll get to travel through first. Now then, it's time to discuss the main city of Natlan. While we haven't seen much of it, we were able to catch a quick glimpse at what I believe is the city in the recent Natlan teaser. Towards the end, we follow the Dendrosaurian as it travels upwards and onto a platform built on the side of a massive cliff face. I think that this platform is a part of Natlan's main city, and that the entire city is built around this cliff. We can see that this platform has multiple layers, and that there are objects that appear to be cranes on the sides of the cliff. These cranes are likely used to transport goods up and down the levels of the city. The people of Natlan could also make use of hot air balloons to transport goods, as we do see some of those in the teaser. Getting back to the platform itself, the bottom layer of this platform appears to go inside the cliff. To me, this means that a good amount of the city could be built within the wall, carved out of the rock. Houses, buildings, businesses, and more could all be built within the sturdy structure of this mountain. Of course, this would include a new branch of the Adventurers Guild and a brand new Catherine. Now, in Fontaine, the main city was home to one of the nation's statues of the Seven, which could be possible for Natlan too. If a statue of the Seven is located in Natlan's main city, it could be located at the top of the mountain on a different platform, or even within the walls of the city. It could also be located on the very platform that the Saurian landed on. For the sake of the teaser, it may have been removed so that we wouldn't be able to see it just yet. Moving on though, I want to discuss a few other areas that we can briefly see in the background of the Natlan teaser. These areas are currently quite mysterious to us, and I think they could hold a lot of lore. First up, we have what appears to either be a withered tree or some sort of strange skeleton. We can actually spot quite a few skeletons in this teaser, so that idea would fit. This skeleton could be the remains of an abyssal creature from the Cataclysm like Elenus, or even another god that the Pyro Archon fought against in the past, like Orobashi. After all, Natlan is the land of war, so the remains of wars fought in the past could be a pretty common sight. Perhaps we'll be able to find an ancient battleground which houses the remains of many gods who fell during the Archon War. An area like this could also be home to a multitude of temples, each one dedicated to sealing the lingering energies of a fallen god and keeping the area relatively safe. Moving to the right a bit now, we can see some mysterious floating structures. Once again, these could be linked to a fallen god or some other piece of Natlan's past. From the view we get though, it's quite hard to figure out what this structure is. As such, I can't draw a definitive conclusion for it just yet. Finally, moving even further right, we can see what appears to be the ruins of a massive building or even a castle of sorts. Based on the style of Natlan's geography, this could also just be a really tall mountain. However, it does feel a bit off compared to the rest of the mountains we've seen, so I think it's something else. This place could have been a castle belonging to the tyrant mentioned in the lore of the Unfinished Reverie artifact set. After the tyrant's reign of terror ended, this place would have been abandoned and would have quickly fallen into disrepair. As such, it now remains as ancient ruins filled with lore. Speaking of ancient civilizations though, that's what I want to talk about next. From what we've seen so far, Natlan has a lot of potential for ancient civilizations. We already know about the Tyrant from Unfinished Reverie, his oppression of the Saurians, and even his use of forbidden knowledge. If you want to know more about that lore, I do have a whole video focusing on Unfinished Reverie. As such, I want to spend this section speculating on some other pieces of Natlan's ancient history. One feature in the teaser that caught my eye was this structure, located beneath the Shrine of Depth seen in the canyons. It appears to be a man-made structure, but it looks quite old. It's currently in a tilted position, which leads me to believe it either fell over at some point or eroded through the years. It could very well be a part of an ancient civilization, or it could also relate to the history of the tribes found within Natlan. On a plateau just above this structure, we can also see that a tent has been set up. This tent is very similar to the one seen next to this skeleton, which leads me to believe that a team of researchers may be investigating the history of Natlan. When we reach Natlan, we could meet these researchers and join them for their investigations, leading to a brand new World Quest series. Looking back at the canyons, it appears that we'll be able to travel deeper into the cliffs. Therefore, Natlan could have an extensive underground area that we could explore with the researchers. These ancient tunnels could house many of Natlan's long-lost secrets, including lore that ties back to Unfinished Reverie. Anyways, that's pretty much it for my thoughts on the landmarks and locations of Natlan. Natlan is looking absolutely beautiful, and I can't wait to explore this nation on my own. In the meantime, if you want more Natlan lore, I recommend my videos on Tales of Teyvat, the Mare Jvari, Unfinished Reverie, and the primal powers of Natlan. I would love to hear what ideas you all have for the locations of Natlan in the comments below as well. Anyways, that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Sources and further readings are also in the description if you want to check them out. I hope you all have an amazing day, and I'll see you all in the next video.